No niche zone. No niche zone. It's the party over here. No niche zone. No niche zone. No niche zone. No niche zone. No.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of No Niche Zone, the podcast about everything. I'm your host, Priscilla Davies, and I'm so happy to be back with y'all. Thank you so much for your patience. You know, your girl finally took a vacation, okay? It was about time. Oh, I had to get out of town, you know? So your girl finally took a vacation, and as a result, I was unable to record last week. So thank you so much for having patience with me, guys. But we're back. We're back at it. We're back, and we're busy back in this mess, okay? Oh my gosh. In these weeks that we have not been together, separated, so much has been happening politically, and you know we about to get into it, y'all. Because if you don't know what's going on, you need to know what's going on. Guys, you know, like in the history books when they're like, oh yeah, and like this guy assassinated the Duke Arch Ferdinand, and then these people decided to militarize this, and then came the war, right? We, you know, like the pre amble up to that, we're in it. It's so crazy how in it we are. So for those who don't know, a lot has been going on in Texas, y'all. Texas has been the catalyst of so much nonsense these last few weeks. And if you don't know what's up, I'm gonna give you a quick recap because you need to know, because like I said, shit is getting really real, y'all. So rewind the clock, okay? Donald J. Trump reached out to the governor of Texas, I believe his name is Greg Abbott, and he reached out to him and asked him to gerrymander the hell out of Texas to ensure that they would be able to bring in 5 more Republican seats for the midterm elections in 2026, okay? So Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, of course, he immediately grabbed his Vaseline and got to work. Because why would he ever say no to Donald Trump, okay? Why would any Republican say no to Donald Trump? So he acquiesced, he agreed. And so he went to his state Congress, right? Just like we have the Congress of the United States, we got the Congress for every state, right? So he went to his state senators and his state representatives, and he said to them, hey, we're gonna gerrymander this because Donald Trump asked me to, okay? And his state representatives were like, okay, because Texas is a heavily red state, right? Texas is like the biggest red state out there, right? So his representatives went along with it because there's no opposition. There's not enough Democratic opposition, right? Because it is a heavily red state. And so he goes in there and they're like, let's do it. And that begins this political saga. Now, I gotta say this, you know, one of the things that really trips me out is the fact that not only does, look at how many people this has gone through for this to happen, right? This isn't just like Donald Trump waving his hand. Look how many people had to agree to this fuck shit. And let me explain exactly why it's fuck shit. So he agreed to do this, and this is not a redistricting year. He asked him to redistrict, and this is not a redistricting year. We do in the country, typically most states do redistricting every 10 years, typically in line with the census, right? Because that's how they formulate these maps, right? Texas is nowhere near, they're nowhere near needing to redistrict. So they decided to call a special session to do this, okay? So it's not even like this was already on the agenda. This is totally out of the ordinary. There's no reason for them to be doing this. They've already recently done it, and the time is not up for them to do it again, okay? And I think it's so wild how they all just went along with it. People talk about how Donald Trump is like, oh, he's just this wacko, lone gunman type of guy. But look how many people fall in line. This fool called up the governor. Did the governor say, no, President Trump, we're not going to do that. Even though it's technically legal, of course we can technically legally do this. It's just not right. It's unprecedented. And you know what you're doing. You're trying to hustle the system here. And we're not going to stand by that. Did the governor do that? No. When he went to his state government in Texas, did all of those representatives, I can't imagine how many representatives there are in the state government of Texas, Republican representatives, did any of those people say, no, I'm not down with this? Or did at least a good amount of people say, I don't know, maybe some people did, but clearly not enough. And it's so wild how all of these people just fell in line with this shady ass operation to basically disenfranchise Texas voters. And who do you think this is going to fall on the most? Black and brown Texans, because that's exactly who they're trying to disenfranchise. They're trying to chop into those black districts so that they rearrange them in a way so that black people and brown people lose the power of their vote, as if they haven't already lost the power of the vote because Texas isn't already a super gerrymandered state. It just boggles my mind that not one motherfucker stood up and said no. Stood up and said, we're not going to go along with this. This is not right. We're not going to disenfranchise our citizens that we represent, because you don't just represent your district, you represent the whole state. And nobody said no. To me, I mean, it's the yes men for me. It's the yes men for me. And it's a little scary thinking about that. It's a little scary thinking about how this literal psychopath, who everybody called out as a psychopath when he first started running back in 2016, even on his side, they all just fucking fall in line. Yes, man. It is terrifying to witness. So now they all say, yes, let's do it. Let's do this special session, right? And so what do Texas Democrats do? The only thing they can do, they flee the state, y'all. Let me tell you something. Nobody works harder than a Texas Democrat, boy. These motherfuckers flee the state at least 16,000 times a year just to stop these corrupt ass Republicans from enacting these corrupt ass bills and legislation that they try to push in. I mean, every other day, if you keep up with politics, you will hear about how some of these Texas Democrats literally leave the state in order to prevent what they call a quorum. For those who don't remember or don't know, a quorum means the minimum amount of people you need in order to actually hold a motion to pass legislation, right? So in order to bring something to the floor of the state house, okay, or the federal house, our Congress. But in this case, Texas, in order to bring something to the state floor, you have to have a minimum of a certain amount of voters, senators, House people, Congress people. You have to have a certain amount of people there in order to actually hold the vote. If you don't have that amount of people, you have not met quorum and you cannot hold the vote. You got to wait. You got to wait for the people to show up for whatever reason, okay? That they're not there. So the only line of defense that a lot of these Texas Democrats have has been to get the hell out of town. They literally have to abscond with their own bodies, which is wild. And so this time around, in order to stop the Texas Republicans from gerrymandering the hell out of the state, they decided a bunch of Texas Democrats dipped. Some of them went to New York. Some of them went to Illinois. And, the governors, the governor of New York, the governor of Illinois, and they went to some other states. I can't remember, but they were basically keep hiding them, I mean, this is some freaking almost Anne Frank shit, okay? They were basically harboring these people who are basically refugees from their state. This is what I mean when I say this is the time. Shit is motherfucking real, y'all. What's so crazy is when we look back in history and people tell these stories, they're gonna be like, you mean to tell me nobody thought this shit was serious when people were running, fleeing, and not just people, y'all, these are elected officials. These are elected officials. This isn't just some Dick, Jane, and Harry. These are elected. So if the people who have the power have to flee, what happens to the rest of us? The regulars. So, oh my God, y'all. So they go to all, these different states, and they're holding press conferences trying to bring attention to this situation. And it is wild. And so while this is going on, Governor Gavin Newsom, aka the Gavinator, aka the governor of California, my governor, decided to get up in the fight, okay? And so as a response to Governor Abbott of Texas saying we're going to blatantly gerrymander in order to give Republicans a 5-seat advantage, Governor Newsom jumped in and said, okay, well, if you do that, we're going to see you and raise you, and we're going to do the same thing in California. Because remember, California is the most populous state, and I believe Texas is the second most populous state, right? California is the most populous blue state. Texas is the most populous red state. So basically, Governor Newsom said, y'all trying to bully people because y'all think that you got the numbers to do that. Well, guess what? We got bigger numbers, and we're going to bully you back. And, oh my God, y'all. And, obviously Governor Newsom is positioning himself for a run in 2028, right? Like, this is so obvious. And he's positioning himself as the only man who can go up against Trump. And, he's a white man. He's a good looking white man. Okay. I ain't gonna deny it. He cute. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, you gotta be good looking to be able to pull off a slick back haircut. Okay. I don't know any man who could pull off slick back with the gel. Come on now. You got to be good looking, and he still look good. Who's pulling off the Dracula 2025 haircut, and he still look good. He look good. I hate when attractive people that's one of my weak spots. I'm not gonna lie. Like, as smart as I am, if you're good looking, you can pull some shit over on me. But seriously though, so he's obviously positioning himself for that 2028 race, against Trump. If let's be real, will Trump even be alive by then? But I digress. And so he decided to enact this, and he was like, what's up? He's like, y'all pull the trigger, we're gonna pull the trigger, all right? And in addition to this, he also decided to start trolling Trump. So do yourself a favor, go to his Instagram, his TikTok, wherever you get your social media, and go look at his page. I mean, his trolls have been top notch. I mean, he has an AI generated picture of him sitting there with Kid Rock, with one hand on his shoulder, and Hulk Hogan, and I think Jesus is behind them. And I mean, he's just trolling. And he's like saying, and it's not just pictures, like he's writing out these like unhinged, in Trump fashion. He's basically trying to hold up a mirror to Trump. And he's doing the same thing as Trump is doing, and in Trump fashion, saying the wildest, most reckless, like using the same type of lingo while also throwing shade, subtle and not subtle shade at Trump. And so it's been, like I said, do yourself a favor. If you want a quick little laugh, go in there. I should have pulled some up for you. I'm sorry, I should have, because they're really that hilarious. So this is happening. This is going back and forth. All right. And then some of the Texas Democrats who fled, I believe they were gone for 2 weeks. Can you imagine that? Like I said, we are in serious times. Some of them decided to go back. Now, we don't know, there's been a lot of people were frustrated with the fact that they decided to go back because the Texas Republicans needed just 2 Texas Democrats in order to meet quorum, right? They just needed 2. And if the Texas Democrats had completely stayed out of Texas, they would have never reached that quorum. And so people were like, why did people decide to go back? And, I gotta say, I've seen quite a few interviews. I haven't seen a straight answer yet, okay? It's been a lot of like, well, we had no choice. They were gonna get quorum anyway. The one decent recent explanation I heard is that if they couldn't do it now, they would just push back the election because it somehow ties into an election over there. And if they would push back the election and then they would just do it again, that basically they're saying that this was just a stopgap measure. This was just to push it back. They were never going to actually be able to end this. It was just a delay. So, okay. So some of these Democrats, they go back to Texas, right? And what happens? Because they're in their mind, they're like, look, if this quorum's going to happen, we want to be there to argue and fight and get our word into the record about why this is so messed up, right? And so what happens when they get back to Texas, y'all? Now, mind you, while they were out, while they were gone, fleeing from the state, the governor threatened to send federal agents after them, to send Texas agents after them, state agents, right? To bring them back, okay? So when they actually came back, they got to the chamber and they were told that if they wanted to leave the chamber, they would have to sign a permission slip. And part of what that permission slip was saying was that they were giving them permission to take them and allow themselves to be taken into police, Texas State Police or Texas whatever custody. As in, they will be outside of your house. Wherever you go, they're going to escort you. They will escort you from the building, from the Capitol building to your home, to your kids' soccer practice. One state official was threatened to be arrested because she was jogging or walking briskly. That's really what it was. And her agent couldn't keep up with her, panicked, and decided to threaten to arrest her. Okay? Now, all of them decided to sign this except for one person, Representative Collier. I believe her first name was Nicole, okay? A black woman is always a black woman, okay? Who is an attorney. And she said that she did not feel comfortable signing basically away her rights to freedom. She was basically saying, yeah, you can imprison me against my will. And guess how the Texas government responded? They locked that bitch up into the state building. They locked her in there. They locked her in there, y'all, for, I believe, 3 days. Because when this happened, the weekend, and then they weren't coming back until like Tuesday or Wednesday of the next week. They said she couldn't leave. And then she actually did an interview with Joy-Ann Reid. What up, Joy? She actually did an interview with Joy-Ann Reid where she spilled a little tea and said they actually told her, you know, whisper behind the bushes, told her if she wanted to leave without signing it, she could leave, but she couldn't talk about it. Folks, this is the America we live in, okay? But she decided to stand 10 toes down for her constituents and for the people of Texas and for the people of America. Because again, what happens in one state affects all of us, right? And so she decided that she wasn't going to leave and she was going to make a point that she was going to stay there in protest. And she did. She stayed there, I believe, for 2 or 3 days, y'all. Held against her will. A black woman held against her will by the government. This is the world we're living in today, guys. Like, when I say shit is getting real, they're locking state representatives in state houses and not letting them leave. They're imprisoning state elected officials. Like I said before, if this is what they're doing to the elected officials, what are they going to do to us? These are the people who are connected. These are the people who, when you get into trouble, you go, oh, don't trip. My sister's brother's cousin, his neighbor is a state senator. I'm gonna hit them up. They locking the state senators up in the state house. And shout out to Representative Collier for standing 10 toes down for Texans and for Americans, as black women always do. So y'all, They finally make it to that day, the Tuesday or the Wednesday, when they finally decide to have this vote, okay? And of course, because they were outnumbered, massively outnumbered, the vote passed. And Texas agreed to gerrymander the hell out of Texas to ensure that they could get 5 extra seats in 2026. And so Governor Newsom said, bet. He said, all right, bet. And so he has enacted, I forgot what it's called, the something reaction plan, where basically he's going to put it to the California people and we're going to vote on whether or not we've decided that we're going to do some extreme gerrymandering here to counteract what the Texans have done over in Texas, which even in the way that Gavin Newsom is clapping back, he's still following the rules. He didn't just say, no, I'm going to be a governor and I'm just going to go in and tell my state people to. No, he said, we voting on this. And guess what? If you are a Californian, get ready to get busy, okay? Yeah, we're going to vote to gerrymander the hell out of this to counterbalance the nonsense that these Republicans in Texas are doing. And it's not just California. New York government said, yeah. New York Governor Hochul, she said, yeah, what's up? Us too. What's really good? Okay. And not just her. Who was it? Oh, Governor of Maryland, Westmoreland. He said, yeah. He said, us too. Do I have a clip? I hope I pulled this clip. He said something, and I don't think I have the clip, but it's like the way he worded it. He basically said, like, now is not the time to play games, to pussyfoot. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And I really appreciated that. And I'm really loving seeing how these Democrats are fighting the good fight. This is how you fight against people who have thrown the rule book out the window. You know, one of the things that has screwed Democrats over these last, literally, I'd say 2 decades, to be quite honest, because this started way before Trump. This started before Obama. In my opinion, this really started with Reagan, which is 40 years, okay? But in my opinion, I'm going to say it really got bad with George W. Bush. That's when Republicans really started throwing that playbook out the window. That's when they started doing all this weird shit, unprecedented shit. Not to say they weren't always doing shady shit, but like next level in your face, right? And what did Democrats do in response? They kept playing by the rules. When they go low, we go high. I mean, that was their moniker, right? I mean, I love me some Michelle Obama. That's my girl. But come on, baby girl. Come on. Sorry, I shouldn't call you baby girl. Come on, Madam Vice Ex-President. I'll come back to that. But when they go low, we go high. Look where it's gotten us. It's gotten us Roe v. Wade overturned. It's gotten us ICE in the streets, sitting here in unmarked vehicles, wearing masks, stealing people from the streets. It's gotten us Medicaid and Medicare being attacked, and SNAP benefits being. I mean, look where it's gotten us. It's gotten us to the point that, you know, we are about to, these Republicans are talking about a 3rd term for Donald Trump. And they're not playing, just like they weren't playing about getting rid of Roe v. Wade. So again, it's like Democrats have, you know, where the failure has lied in a lot of ways. You know, there's other places where the failure has been, but you know, a lot of it has been Democrats not rising to the challenge and still trying to play ball with people who done pop the ball, and they just swinging now. They pop the ball and they're just swinging, and you sitting here still trying to blow the ball up and still trying to shoot it. These people are just, you know, it's like hockey. You know, these people done threw the stick down, ripped their jersey off, they swinging, and you're sitting here still trying to go for the puck. Take the goddamn jersey off and start swinging back. And I love to see that Democrats, at least for right now, are starting to do that. You got to fight fire with fire. If you don't fight fire with fire, you're going to get burnt. And that's what we've been doing, is we've been burnt to a crisp. While the Republicans and the right have just gotten more and more and more extreme. I mean, before we know it, we're going to be in the Handmaid's Tale. While Democrats are still following the rules and being good little boys and girls, and they, thems, Are there any they, them Democrats acting stupid? I don't know. We got to find them. I don't think so. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm so happy to see Gavin Newsom being like, you know what? This is unprecedented, but we got to do unprecedented stuff. And other Democratic governors joining in and saying, yeah, what's up? Because let's be really real about it. Who's really got the numbers like that? Us, the blue states. And we keep playing these silly little, games while people are chasing after us with machetes. Literally destroying the fabric of democracy in this country. It's time for Democrats to take lessons from the Texas Democrats who said, oh, you trying to play? Well, we're going to get up and leave. We're not even going to allow you to do what you got to do. And these governors who are saying, oh, you want to do that? Well, we're going to do this. So I love to see this, and I love to see this fight happening. I love to see that these people are standing up for the American people that put you in office. Stop letting these Republicans steamroll us. Fight back. And we're seeing that. Now, the question is, how far is this fight going to go? Because people have been talking about the fact that now that these Democratic governors are like, what's up? Like, every time you mess up, we gonna do some funny stuff back. People have been talking about, and questioning, is this the beginning? Are we seeing the beginning of the country of Pacifica? The country of Atlantia, the country of Cascadia. For those who don't know what I'm referring to this idea of our country breaking up and the Western states becoming, what colloquially, or what what you've heard in popular culture as Pacifica or as Cascadia. The Western states, California, Washington, Oregon, coming together and creating their own country. Or on the East Coast, New England, taking in New York and New Jersey and Philly. I can't say Pennsylvania because I don't know what y'all doing over there in Pennsylvania. But Philly, y'all all right. You guys are okay. But, there's been some talk about this coming out. And I gotta say, I don't know, what do you call it? Maybe my psychic abilities, my pattern recognition is going off. Like, when all this first started going down with Trump, I was like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, but I definitely can see states starting to break off, states starting to secede, because let's be real, why are we dealing with this as blue states, especially rich blue states? California is what is it, the 6th or the 4th largest economy in the whole entire world? The world? And we're sitting here having to fight tooth and nail for things like Medicaid and Medicare because part of our country wants to drag us to hell with them while we just trying to live good, be out in the sun, smoke some weed, just enjoy life. But here you guys are being like, no, we don't want poor people to get benefits. We don't want the blacks and the browns to get benefits. So let's cut off our nose to spite our face. And that's what, I feel like, honestly, I'm like, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why, but I'm like, after Freudian slip. I'm about to say the first Civil War. That's a bad sign, y'all. That's a bad sign that just came out like that. I said the first Civil War. But yeah, like in the Civil War, when it went down, it's like, sometimes I just wonder, like, why did these motherfuckers decide to come back together? They should have left those red states in the dust. I mean, we don't have time to get into exactly, everybody knows, right? We all know that the blue states are subsidizing the red states. We know this, right? So I just think it's, I wonder if what we're seeing with these blue state governors coming together and binding together and being like, yo, let's come together and let's fight this together and say, guess what? We're not going to comply with the federal government. We're not going to comply with Donald Trump and his administration, and we're going to do our own thing. And I'm curious, I wonder if we are seeing the beginning of the break apart of the United States? You know, will we eventually see the red states and the blue states of the United States, right? Instead of the United States of America, the blue states of America, the red states of America. So, you know, people have been kind of talking about that, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been like, I don't know. The way things are starting to play out, it's looking like that's a direction we might be heading in. Now, who knows? Who knows? But let's just say this much. If it did happen, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised because, to be quite honest, like I said, I don't even know why blue states even mess with these red states. Let them do what they want to do. And it's like we don't even think, we don't have the same values. And just like any couple, right? Any couple, you can't be in a relationship with somebody if y'all don't share the same values. It's gonna be nothing but war and battles. That is one of the most, important parts of a relationship, is sharing the same morals, ethics, and values. And let's keep it real. Red states and blue states just do not. So let's see, let's see where this lands us and where this heads things, where things head after this. So that's what's been going on with Texas, the Texas tango, and how that also impacts all of us. Like I said, again, you need to make sure that you are staying abreast of these topics, that you know what's going on, because, you might see this and go, oh, well, Texas, who cares? What does that have to do with that? Well, with us. I explain what it has to do with us. What they do in Texas affects the rest of us, because who Texas sends to Washington are the people who are making the decisions for the rest of us. We're all unfortunately intertwined, at least today, okay? So it's important to know what's going on, because also red states tend to be the testing grounds for the bullshit that Republicans and conservatives and MAGA try to unroll or roll out and unveil for the rest of the country. So always pay attention to the fuck shit they're trying to do in the red states. Always pay attention. All right, guys, let's move on, shall we? Okay, guys. Whew. I got some TikTok tea for y'all. Wow. TikToker Ben Dover. I'm just gonna say his name, his first and middle name. This is his handle, Ben Dover. We'll just leave it like that, okay? Yes, I'm about to talk about someone named Ben Dover. So, this TikToker named Ben Dover on TikTok, he lit TikTok ablaze, y'all. Ben came out and he essentially said, and I'm paraphrasing here, he basically was like, you know what's so crazy? So many, Ben is Mexican, by the way. So Ben Dover is a Mexican TikToker. And he came out and he goes, you know what's so crazy? So many Mexicans and dads and uncles who are homophobic to their kids, who are disowning their kids for being gay. He was like, so many of those dads and uncles, what you don't know is that they're secretly DL. And I'm saying this the nice way. He went in. I'm trying to see if I have a clip. Because mind you, I went to pull a clip and I'm going to get into this, but I couldn't even find a clip. Like, because the reaction was that strong, okay? Let me see if this is the clip.
Cut off their sons for being gay. Old school Mexican dads will cut off their sons for being gay, but they won't cut off their boys that be sucking their dick when they get drunk.
Sophie.
Okay? Like I said it much nicer, okay? And mind you see how that was only a little tiny clip? That's actually someone stitching his clip, because he's wiped from the internet, okay? So he says this, right? And he goes viral for saying this. And it starts popping up. Because it goes viral, it starts leaving Mexican TikTok and it goes out into the general TikTok population, right? And so, I'm sitting here, imagine you casually scrolling, and that clip that I just played, that's the video that popped up on my FYP. I'm like, what? I'm not ready. What's going on, right? So this starts a firestorm, and the Mexican TikTok community jumps in, and they start telling their stories, sharing their stories, like basically pulling all of the skeletons out of the closet. You have kids coming out, not adults, but adults, children of these parents coming out, sharing their stories about how they were excommunicated from the family, how their family treated them so badly, and how they're loving seeing all of this coming to light, right? So now this has reached beyond Mexican TikTok, and suddenly now we're seeing stories of the DL Indian uncles. We're seeing stories of the DL Arab uncles. We're seeing stories, obviously we knew the black uncles was there because DL, the term itself came from the black community, which let's take a pause there because talking about this online, I've seen some people coming out and being like, well, there's black people who are DL. Yeah, we're the ones that invented the phrase. Hello. We're the ones that brought that discussion to the general population decades ago. Hello. Yeah, we know there's plenty of black DL people. That's where the term even comes from, okay? So now, like I said, the Indian DL uncle stories are coming out. The Asians, the South Asian, I mean, everybody's skeletons are coming out. And people are coming together and sharing their traumas because it's not just about yes, it's about them being homophobic and then themselves having these secret lives, right? But it's also about the trauma that this inflicts on their kids and the generations, right? And so people are coming together and sharing about how, the experiences they have, the things that they've seen. And it's been something wonderful to witness. It's been wonderful to see people, I jokingly call this guy Mexican Thanos because he's out here taking no prisoners and he's literally resetting the timeline. But I'm so proud to see people coming out and speaking on this and airing shit out and not hiding. And this guy is doing the Lord's work because not just that, right? He's not just talking about DL folks. It's like I said, it broadened out to the rest of the TikTok world, but he's also talking about other issues. And people are really coming out. And I jokingly, made a post just being so happy to see the Mexican community specifically, what did I say? Breaking generational curses. It's a cute TikTok. You should go watch it. But I'm not actually talking in it, but breaking generational curses. And that's what we're seeing happening all because this guy bend over. I hate that I have to say his name and I'm not even going to say his last name because I can't do it with a straight face. Okay. So, he's been bringing so many communities together and, me. If there's one thing I love when the truth comes to light. And I love when people call out the truth and what's really going on. And, and I think this is a great time of healing and it's been so incredible to witness. And, it's so, it's funny because, what do I think about this? I actually made a TikTok about this back in April, not about this, specific topic, but back in April, this is what I had to say. Okay. So in case you're curious of how I might feel about this is what I had to say back in April. I made a TikTok about this. Life would get considerably better for every single person. I gotta take that back. On this planet. God damn. They updated the freaking iPhone and it's the new setup is so annoying. Okay, ready? Hot take. Life would get considerably better for every single person on this planet if we made being gay socially acceptable, especially for men. If men were allowed to be gay freely without any judgment and it was totally accepted, so many of the world's problems would evaporate overnight. Think about it. Hot take. Sorry, this is, like I said, the setup is so annoying. Okay? You heard me? Yeah. Because let's be real, so much fuck shit is happening because people have to hide who the hell they are. And let's keep it real. I hate to say it, but guys, I'm gonna touch your hand when I say this. I'm gonna touch your hand when I say this, okay? Okay, I'm not a scientist, okay? I know y'all gonna come for me on the internet, but listen, the reason why this is an issue is because most, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say, right? most, not even just men, I hate to say it, but in my opinion, most people are on the spectrum. This idea, this binary that we live in of gay, straight, black, white, this, that, this is a very patriarchal mentality, right? That it's always either or, and that there's nothing that exists in the gray area, okay? And we need to just, it's like, guys, can we just get to the point where we accept the fact that most people are on the spectrum? The odds of someone being strictly straight or strictly gay is tiny. Yes, there's plenty of people who are strictly straight. There's plenty of people who are strictly gay, but that percentage compared to the rest of us out here who are somewhere on that spectrum is freaking tiny, y'all. And we have to acknowledge this so that we can stop having people who are literally hurting other people because they can't be real and true to themselves. And having people who are being hurt because they just want to be themselves. It's just like, so hearing these stories, like I said, like, it's like all it started with the DL Mexican uncles, now it's the DL Mexican Indian uncles. Guess what, guys? It's everybody. Everybody's gay or somewhere on the spectrum. And that's the thing. Just because you're on the spectrum doesn't mean that you might like something a lot more than you like something else, but that's called a preference, right? You may prefer something, but you might also still be open to something else, right? That's the difference between a dating preference and a dating rule, right? So when people are like, oh, I only date white people or I only date X, Y, and Z, that's not a preference, boo. That's a rule. A preference is you prefer something, but you're okay with something else. If you have a hard and fast rule, that's not a preference. That's your rule, baby, okay? But I digress, okay? So even if you only have a preference for, your preference is more this than that, you're still on the spectrum. And one of the things that came out from this guy, Ben Dover, AKA Mexican Thanos, was how much alcohol plays into this. How, these dudes will get wasted, fucked, blackout drunk, and they're engaging in this activity. And then it's like, you're doing this because you don't even fucking want, you don't want to remember, it's just so, it's so messy and it's so insidious, and there's real world repercussions for this. People are dying behind this. People are like suffering in silence behind this. Families are breaking up behind this. And I thought that was such an important point that he made. It's not just about, oh, there's a bunch of DL dudes in the Mexican community. It's the fact that these dudes are homophobic. They are harassing gay people when they themselves are engaging in the same behavior that they're judging. And not just judging, but it gets worse than just judgment. It turns into, like I said, families breaking up, people being physically harmed, people dying, people ending their lives. When looking at my scientific studies in my head, in my life, in my society, and I'm listening to people, I'm like, doing the mathematicals, it's really giving that everybody's down, okay? Get a little liquor. And it seemed like everybody with it. So we need to really, I'm being facetious, okay, guys? But I am being, the seriousness behind this, again, is the impacts that this has on us culturally. Because it's not just the Mexican community. It's not just the Black community. It's not just, sorry, I just had this comment. I don't know if I'm gonna say this, but someone said this comment. They were like, it's every community except for the white community. And then someone, I'm not gonna say it because it's crazy. Someone came on and said something that was hilarious. But anyway, point being that it's everybody. It's everybody. It's in every community. And so instead of us fighting against what seems to be like the natural flow of the river, it's like, here we are swimming upstream, And, and by the way, let me be clear, I'm not a part of the gay agenda, the so-called gay agenda, right? I'm not, to the hoteps and to the MAGA right who believe in the gay agenda, I'm not a part of it, okay? And let's be real, is there really a gay agenda or is there a straight agenda? Because I've never seen a straight conversion camp. But I've seen gay conversion camps, okay? I ain't never seen a camp where straight people can go to be converted to be gay. But I've seen camps where gay people go to be converted to be straight. And it's big business, those camps. So if it's big business, where are all these gay people coming from? How are they filling up these camps? And if it's a gay agenda, then where's the straight camps to convert straight people to be gay? Is it a gay agenda or is it a straight agenda? Because I mean, my whole life, all I've ever seen is straight couples on TV being rammed down my throat. Right? It's y'all are the ones talking about, Adam and Eve. What is it? Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So, and the answer is it's a straight agenda. That's the answer. That's the fucking answer. Because if straightness was so natural, why do we have to work so hard to enforce it, right? As a social norm, right? That's the real answer. But that's a discussion for another day because a lot of people aren't ready for that discussion. But the point that I wanted to make is I'm so happy to see that this discussion is coming out into the open in communities that may not be having this discussion. Like I haven't seen the Indian Uncle DL TikToks yet, but when they show up, I'm gonna be listening, okay? But it's so nice to see that people are coming together, and it's almost like I said, it's like a collective healing. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When we look back at this time, I think one of the names for this time is going to be the great unveiling or the great revealing, the truth coming out. We are in the time of the truth coming out, right? We're seeing so many people and so many organizations and things being exposed. If someone had talked about what we know about P. Diddy a decade ago, we would have said they're crazy. And we did, because those people existed. They were out, people have been talking on P. Diddy for decades, okay? We would have said they were crazy. Now look. All this stuff that's coming out, the secret, the Epstein files, where all of this stuff, I'm telling y'all, so much is coming to the forefront, and we're gonna see all these secrets start coming out because they need to be addressed, because these secrets are killing people. And they need to be addressed, and we need to bring them to the light so that we can handle them, we can process them, and we can change for the better. Please, guys. So I'm really happy to see this. I want to give a big shout out to Ben Dover. If you want to look him up, by the way, his account was banned because the Mexican community got fucking pissed. Obviously not the people who were supporting him, but a small, loud minority got pissed, went after him. He was coming out giving reports, talking about how he was being threatened and people were coming after him. And they indeed got his account banned, y'all. He came in, he commented on one of my posts, and he let everybody know that he's proud of everybody's for telling them their stories, and he's proud of people for speaking up, and that, he's doing okay. And he was, at the time he said he's kicking back, eating Chick-fil-A, watching these posts, whatever. So he is okay. He did create a backup account. If you want to go follow him, I'm going to say his full name so you can follow him. It's at Ben Dover, and his last name is Fordick, Fordik. All right, I don't want to. This is none of my. Listen, not all heroes wear capes. Heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Okay, so if you want to follow him and support his work, because again, he's broadened out from DL TikTok. He's now talking about other issues that really need to be aired the hell out, and I love that for him and the people who are a part of that. So if you want to support him, you can go support him, and hopefully he won't get banned again. And yeah, so that's the tea, y'all. That's what's been going on over TikTok. With that being said, guys, we've come to the end of another episode of No Niche Zone, the podcast about everything. You can follow us across all platforms at No Niche Zone Pod. You can subscribe to our YouTube at No Niche Zone Pod as well. You can also send in your listener letters to nonichezone@gmail.com. And you can follow me personally at Pris the Goddess across all platforms, y'all. With that being said, we'll see you next time.
No niche zone. No niche zone.